Jake was just finishing his coffee when the emergency radio crackled to life. The clock on his kitchen wall showed 11:47 p.m., and he had been looking forward to a quiet evening at home. But that changed in an instant. All units, we have a major incident at the Meridian Chemical Plant. Explosion reported. Multiple casualties possible. All emergency teams respond immediately. Jake's heart started racing. He had been working as an emergency response coordinator for 8 years, but something about this call felt different. The dispatcher's voice carried an urgency he rarely heard, even during the worst situations. He grabbed his gear bag and rushed to his truck. The October night air was crisp and cold as he drove through the empty streets of the small Arizona town. The chemical plant was located about 15 miles outside the city, surrounded by desert and mountains. As he got closer, Jake could see an orange glow lighting up the sky like a second sunset. The smell hit him first. Even with his windows up, the acrid chemical odor burned his nose. Then he saw the flames shooting up from the main building, creating dancing shadows against the dark mountains. Fire trucks, ambulances, and hazmat vehicles were already there, their red and blue lights flashing like a deadly carnival. Jake parked his truck and immediately looked for the incident commander. He found Lisa Chen, the plant supervisor, standing near the command post with a clipboard in her shaking hands. Her face was pale, and her safety helmet sat crooked on her head. "Thank goodness you're here," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "We've got a real mess on our hands." Jake looked at the burning building in front of them. The main structure was still standing, but one section had partially collapsed. Thick black smoke poured from broken windows, and the heat was so intense he could feel it from 50 yards away. "What happened?" Jake asked. Pulling out his notebook, Lisa took a deep breath. "We had a reactor malfunction in lab section C around 11:30. The safety systems failed, and we got a chain reaction. 3 of our night shift workers were in that section when it happened." Jake's stomach dropped. 3 people were still inside that burning building. He looked at the flames and wondered if anyone could survive something like that. "Do we know where they were exactly?" he asked. 2 of them were in the main lab area. "We found them and got them out already. They're hurt, but they'll make it." Lisa paused and pointed to the collapsed section. But Dr. Rodriguez was working in the clean room area. That's where the worst damage is. Jake studied the collapsed section. The roof had caved in completely, and twisted metal beams stuck out. Like broken bones, it looked impossible that anyone could survive under all that debris. "How long has it been?" Jake asked. "Almost 20 minutes since the explosion." 20 minutes. Jake knew that was a long time for someone to be trapped, especially with all the toxic chemicals and smoke. But he also knew that miracles happened sometimes, and his job was to never give up hope. Dr. Kim, the hazmat specialist, walked over to them. Her face was covered by a protective mask, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. "The radiation levels are higher than normal," she said. "Not dangerous yet, but we need to be careful." Whatever they were working on in there, it's not just regular chemicals. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Radiation made everything more complicated and dangerous. But those 3 people were counting on them. What kind of work was Dr. Rodriguez doing? Jake asked Lisa. She's a biochemist. She was part of a special project called Aurora. Something about treating radiation poisoning using stuff from deep-sea creatures. I don't understand all the science, but it was supposed to be revolutionary. As they talked, more emergency vehicles arrived. The parking lot looked like a war zone with all the flashing lights and people running around in protective suits. Jake had seen many disasters in his career, but this felt bigger somehow. His radio crackled again. "Jake, we need you to lead the search team into Section C. We've got the structural engineers checking the building, and they think we can get in safely for a limited time." Jake looked at the collapsed building again. Somewhere under all that twisted metal and concrete, Dr. Rodriguez might still be alive. Every minute that passed made her chances worse. "Copy that," he said into his radio. "I'll need a full hazmat team and cutting equipment." As he prepared to enter the building, Jake thought about his own family. His wife and 2 kids were sleeping safely at home, probably not even knowing about the disaster happening just a few miles away. He always worried about not coming home from calls like this. But he also knew that someone else's family was counting on him tonight, the hazmat team. Gathered around him, they had cutting torches, lifting equipment, and radiation detectors. Everyone knew the risks, but they also knew they had a job to do. Remember, Dr. Kim told them, "We can only stay inside for 30 minutes maximum. The radiation levels are climbing, and we don't know what other chemicals might be in there." Jake nodded and checked his equipment one more time. His radiation detector was clipped to his belt, and he could hear it clicking softly. The sound would get faster if the radiation got worse. As they approached the damaged building, Jake noticed something strange. Some of the debris seemed to have a faint blue glow, almost like it was lit from inside. He had never seen anything like it before. "Are you seeing this glow?" he asked Dr. Kim. She looked where he was pointing and frowned. "That's not normal. My equipment isn't picking up any standard radiation signature that would cause that." The mystery deepened, but they didn't have time to investigate. Somewhere in that glowing wreckage, Dr. Rodriguez was waiting for them. Jake put on his heavy protective suit and checked his breathing mask one more time. The thick plastic visor made everything look slightly blurry, but he could still see the strange blue glow coming from inside the collapsed building. His radiation detector was clipped to his belt, clicking steadily like a mechanical heartbeat. "Stay close to me," he told his team of four rescuers. "We go in, we search fast, and we get out. 30 minutes maximum." The entrance to Lab Section C was blocked by a fallen concrete beam, but they had brought cutting equipment. The sparks flew as they cut through the twisted metal door frame. Jake's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it inside his helmet. When they finally got inside, Jake couldn't believe what he saw. The hallway was filled with debris, but patches of the walls and ceiling were glowing with that same soft blue light. It wasn't like any electrical glow he had ever seen. It was gentle, almost alive, pulsing slowly like breathing. "This is incredible," whispered Tony, one of the hazmat specialists walking behind Jake. "What kind of chemical could do this?" Jake's radiation detector was still clicking at the same steady pace. Whatever was causing the glow, it wasn't making the radiation worse. In fact, as they walked deeper into the building, the clicking seemed to slow down a bit. They had to climb over piles of broken equipment and shattered glass. Jake's flashlight beam cut through the dusty air, but the blue glow was actually giving them more light than their flashlights. It was like walking through a strange underwater world. "Dr. Rodriguez," Jake called out. "Can you hear me? We're here to help." Only silence answered back. The building creaked and groaned around them, making Jake nervous about how much weight the damaged structure could still hold. Every few steps, he would stop and listen carefully for any sound that might be a human voice. They followed the blue glow deeper into the building. Jake noticed that the glow seemed to be getting brighter as they moved toward what used to be the clean room area. His detector was clicking even slower now, which made no sense at all. "Jake, look at this," called out Amy, the team's medical specialist. She was kneeling next to a piece of equipment that was glowing so brightly it looked like it was made of blue fire. "This machine has some kind of liquid spilled all over it, but it's not burning or smoking." Jake came over to look. The spilled liquid looked like glowing blue paint, but it was moving slightly, flowing in slow patterns across the metal surface. When Amy held her radiation detector near it, the clicking almost stopped completely. "It's absorbing radiation," she said with amazement. "I've never seen anything like this." They kept moving toward the clean room. Jake had to use his crowbar to pry open doors that were bent and twisted by the explosion. With each door they opened, the blue glow got brighter and more beautiful. Finally, they reached the clean room area. The heavy door was partially crushed, but Jake could see light coming from inside. Not just any light, the brightest blue glow they had seen yet. "Help me with this door," Jake said to Tony. Together, they managed to pull it open just enough for a person to squeeze through. Jake went first, shining his flashlight into the room. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. There, in the center of the destroyed clean room, was Dr. Rodriguez. She was lying on her side, unconscious but clearly alive. Her chest was rising and falling steadily. But that wasn't the most shocking part. She was completely without clothes, and her entire body was glowing with that same gentle blue light. Her skin looked like it was made of stars, pulsing softly from head to toe. She looked peaceful, almost like she was sleeping under moonlight. "Amy, get in here now," Jake called out. Amy squeezed through the door and gasped when she saw Dr. Rodriguez. Is she okay?" Jake knelt down carefully next to the unconscious woman. He could feel warmth coming from her skin, but it wasn't a burning heat. It was gentle and comfortable, like sunshine on a spring day. "Her pulse is strong," Amy said, checking her wrist. "Breathing is normal. But Jake, her body temperature is reading as perfectly normal on my scanner." "How is that possible?" Jake looked around the room. Everything that had been touching Dr. Rodriguez was glowing too. The floor beneath her, some scattered papers, even a broken coffee cup nearby. But strangest of all, his radiation detector was barely clicking at all now. "The radiation," he said slowly. "It's almost gone in here." Amy checked her own detector. "You're right. It's like she's somehow absorbing it or neutralizing it." They both stared at the glowing woman in front of them. Jake had seen many accident victims in his career, but never anything like this. She should have been hurt badly from the explosion and the chemicals. Instead, she looked almost transformed. "We need to get her out of here," Jake said. "But we have to be careful. We don't know what this means for her or for us." Amy nodded and started preparing a special stretcher they had brought. "The glow is so beautiful," she said softly. "It's like she's become part of the light itself." As they carefully lifted Dr. Rodriguez onto the stretcher, Jake noticed that wherever her skin touched the metal, the stretcher started to glow too. It didn't hurt anything, but it was like her body was sharing its light with everything around her. Control. "This is Jake," he said into his radio. "We found Dr. Rodriguez. She's alive, but we're going to need some very special medical support. You're not going to believe what we're seeing down here." As they carried her out of the glowing room, Jake couldn't help but wonder what had happened to transform a normal person into this mysterious, beautiful, glowing being. And more importantly, what would happen to her now? Dr. Rodriguez opened her eyes slowly, like someone waking from a deep dream. The first thing she saw was the white ceiling of the hospital room, but something was wrong. Everything looked different, sharper somehow. Colors seemed brighter, and she could see tiny details that should have been impossible to notice. She tried to sit up, but her body felt strange, not painful, just different, like she was wearing clothes that didn't quite fit right. Except the feeling was coming from inside her own skin. "Hey, take it easy," said a gentle voice. She turned her head and saw Jake sitting in a chair next to her bed. He was still wearing his work clothes, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice sounded normal, but she could feel something unusual in her throat, like a warm buzzing sensation. "You're in the hospital," Jake said. "There was an accident at the plant. Do you remember what happened?" Dr. Rodriguez closed her eyes and tried to think. Memories came back in pieces, like fragments of a broken mirror. She remembered working late in the clean room, checking on Project Aurora. She had been testing a new batch of the bioluminescent protein they had extracted from deep-sea creatures. "I was working on Aurora," she said slowly. "The protein samples from the jellyfish. We were trying to create a treatment for radiation poisoning." She paused, more memories flooding back. There was a bright flash, so bright it hurt my eyes. Then everything went dark. Jake leaned forward in his chair. "What exactly were you working with? The doctors need to know what you were exposed to." She tried to remember the scientific details. "We had been growing these special proteins in the lab. They came from creatures that live in the deepest parts of the ocean, where there's no sunlight. These creatures make their own light to survive." As she spoke, Dr. Rodriguez noticed something strange. Her hands, resting on the white hospital blanket, seemed to be glowing very faintly. She held them up to her face and gasped. "Oh my goodness," she whispered. "What's happening to me?" Jake stood up quickly. "Dr. Foster," he called out. she's awake." A woman in a white coat rushed into the room. Dr. Foster was the lead physician who had been taking care of Dr. Rodriguez for the past 6 hours. She had seen many unusual medical cases, but nothing like this. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Foster asked, pulling up another chair. "I feel different," Dr. Rodriguez said, still staring at her glowing hands. "My whole body feels like it's humming with energy, and I can see things so clearly. It's like someone turned up the brightness on the whole world." Dr. Foster nodded. "We've been running tests while you were unconscious. Your body has been changed by whatever you were exposed to. The good news is that you're completely healthy. Better than healthy, actually." "What do you mean?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "Your cells are processing energy in ways we've never seen before," Dr. Foster explained. "Remember how you were working with those deep-sea proteins? It looks like they somehow merged with your own DNA during the explosion." Dr. Rodriguez looked at her hands again. The glow was getting slightly brighter, as if responding to her emotions. "So I'm like those jellyfish now, making my own light." "It's more than that," Dr. Foster said. "Those creatures use bioluminescence to survive in places where radiation would kill other living things. Your body seems to have gained that same ability." Jake watched as Dr. Rodriguez experimented with her new ability. She concentrated hard, and the glow from her skin became brighter. Then she relaxed, and it dimmed down to almost nothing. "This is impossible," she said. "How can I control it?" "We think it's connected to your nervous system," Dr. Foster said. "Just like how you can control your muscles, you seem to be able to control this light." Dr. Rodriguez sat up in bed and looked at both of them. "What about the radiation? Jake, you were in that building. Are you okay?" Jake smiled for the first time since the rescue. "That's the amazing part. The radiation levels around you actually go down. It's like you're absorbing it and making it harmless. We tested it," Dr. Foster added. "We brought some radioactive medical equipment near you while you were sleeping. The dangerous radiation completely disappeared. Your body is somehow converting it into harmless energy." Dr. Rodriguez stared at them both. "So I'm like a walking radiation cleaner?" "It looks that way," Dr. Foster said. "We think the explosion somehow activated the proteins in a way that was never supposed to happen. Instead of just glowing like the jellyfish, you gained their ability to neutralize harmful radiation." Jake leaned back in his chair. "The strangest part is how we found you. You were without any clothes, but you weren't hurt at all. It was like the explosion had somehow protected you instead of harming you." Dr. Rodriguez looked down at the hospital gown she was wearing. "My clothes. What happened to them?" "We think they were broken down at the molecular level," Dr. Foster explained. "In the first few hours after your transformation, anything that touched your skin for too long would just dissolve. But that seems to have stopped now, so I'm safe to be around." Dr. Rodriguez asked. "Completely safe," Dr. Foster assured her. "In fact, you might be the safest person in the world to be around. You're like a walking cure for radiation poisoning." Dr. Rodriguez looked out the window at the morning sun. Even through the glass, she could see individual dust particles floating in the air. Her new vision was incredible, but it was also overwhelming. "What happens now?" she asked. Jake and Dr. Foster exchanged glances. They both knew that this was just the beginning of a much bigger story, a story that would change everything they thought they knew about science, medicine, and what it meant to be human. "Now," Jake said, "we figure out how to help you adjust to your new abilities, and maybe, just maybe, we figure out how to use them to help other people." Dr. Rodriguez nodded slowly. She was scared, but she was also curious. After all, she was still a scientist at heart, and she had just become the most interesting experiment in the world. 1 week after the accident, Jake couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Rodriguez. He visited her every day at the hospital, watching as she learned to control her amazing new abilities. But something was bothering him about the whole situation. The explosion seemed too convenient, too perfectly timed. Jake decided to dig deeper into what really happened that night. He started by going back to the plant and talking to the other workers. Most of them were helpful, but he noticed that some people seemed nervous when he asked certain questions. Tell me again about the security cameras, Jake said to Ben, the night security guard. Ben shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Like I told the police. The cameras went down about an hour before the explosion. Some kind of technical problem. What kind of technical problem? Jake pressed. I don't know. I'm not a computer guy. They just stopped working. Jake made a note in his book. It was strange that the cameras would fail right before such a major accident. He decided to talk to the IT department next. The computer technician, David, was more helpful. The cameras didn't just stop working, he said. Someone accessed the system remotely and turned them off. It was done by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Do you know who? Jake asked. No, but I can tell you it wasn't anyone from our company. The access came from outside our network. Jake felt his heart racing. This was starting to sound like more than just an accident. He spent the next few days talking to everyone who worked at the plant, and slowly, a picture started to form. Dr. Rodriguez had been working on something much bigger than anyone realized. Project Aurora wasn't just about treating radiation poisoning. It was about creating a way to clean up nuclear waste that had been polluting the Earth for decades. If her research worked, explained Dr. Peterson, another scientist at the plant, it could solve the world's nuclear waste problem. We're talking about billions of dollars in cleanup contracts. Jake realized that this kind of discovery would make a lot of people very interested. Some would want to buy it, others would want to steal it, and some might even want to destroy it to protect their own businesses. He decided to look into the companies that might be involved. After some research, he found that Apex Industries, a major competitor, had been trying to buy the research for months. When the plant refused to sell, Apex had started making threats. Jake called his friend Rita, who worked for the FBI. I think we might have a case of industrial espionage here, he told her. Rita agreed to help investigate. Within a few days, she had found evidence that Apex Industries had hired a group of hackers to steal the research. The plan was to break into the computer systems and copy all the files. But something went wrong. Rita explained to Jake. The hackers accidentally triggered the safety systems while they were trying to access the research files. That's what caused the explosion. Jake couldn't believe it. So Dr. Rodriguez was hurt because someone was trying to steal her work. That's what it looks like. But here's the strange part. The hackers never got the research they were after. All the computer files were destroyed in the explosion. Jake thought about this. So the only person who knows how to recreate the research is Dr. Rodriguez herself. Exactly. And now she's become a living example of what her research could do. Jake realized that Dr. Rodriguez was in more danger than anyone had thought. If companies were willing to cause an explosion to steal her research, what would they do now that she had become the research? He rushed back to the hospital to talk to her. When he arrived, he found her in the garden, sitting peacefully on a bench. Her skin was glowing softly in the afternoon sunlight, and she looked more beautiful than ever. Dr. Rodriguez, he said, sitting down next to her. We need to talk. She looked at him with her bright, enhanced eyes. You found something, didn't you? Jake told her everything he had learned. About the hackers, about Apex Industries, about how the explosion wasn't really an accident. Dr. Rodriguez listened quietly, and Jake could see the glow from her skin getting brighter as she got more upset. So they did this to me on purpose? She asked. Not exactly. They were trying to steal your research, but they never meant for anyone to get hurt. The explosion was an accident, but now I'm the only one who knows how to recreate the research. That's right, and that makes you very valuable to a lot of people. Dr. Rodriguez stood up and started pacing. Jake could see that she was thinking hard about something. There's something else, she said finally, something I haven't told anyone. Jake waited for her to continue. The abilities I have now, they're still growing. Every day I can do more things. Yesterday, I helped a patient in the cancer ward. I just touched his hand, and his radiation treatment worked better than the doctors expected. You can heal people? I think so, and I think I can do more than that. I feel like I'm connected to energy in ways I never was before. It's like I can feel the radiation in the air, in the buildings, even in the ground. Jake realized that Dr. Rodriguez had become something far more powerful than anyone had imagined. She wasn't just a person who could glow and absorb radiation. She was becoming a living solution to one of the world's biggest problems. What do you want to do? Jake asked. Dr. Rodriguez looked at him with determination in her glowing eyes. I want to make sure this power is used to help people, not to make money for corporations. But I'm going to need your help. Jake nodded. Whatever you need. As they sat in the garden, both of them knew that their lives were about to change in ways they couldn't even imagine. 2 months had passed since the accident, and Dr. Rodriguez was no longer the same person who had been working late in the lab that night. She had been moved to a special research facility in the Nevada desert, where scientists from around the world came to study her amazing abilities. Jake had taken time off from his job to stay with her. He had become her closest friend and the person she trusted most in the world. Every day, he watched her abilities grow stronger and more incredible. The glow from her skin was now under complete control. She could make it bright enough to light up a room, or dim it until it was barely visible. But that was just the beginning of what she could do. Watch this, she said to Jake one morning in the laboratory. She placed her hand on a container of radioactive waste that the scientists had brought for testing. Within minutes, the dangerous radiation levels dropped to 0. It's getting easier every time. She explained, I can feel the harmful energy, and I can change it into something harmless. It's like having a conversation with the atoms themselves. Dr. Wilson, the lead scientist at the facility, was amazed by what he saw. In theory, you could clean up nuclear waste sites that have been dangerous for decades. Places like Chernobyl could be safe again. But Dr. Rodriguez was troubled by something else. The government wants to study my blood and DNA to create more people like me. They want to make an army of radiation cleaners. Jake didn't like the sound of that. What do you think about it? I'm scared, she admitted. What if they create someone like me, but they can't control their abilities? What if the process goes wrong and creates something dangerous instead of helpful? Over the past weeks, representatives from different countries had visited the facility. They all wanted the same thing, access to Dr. Rodriguez's abilities and the knowledge of how to recreate them. The Chinese delegation offered us $50 million. Dr. Wilson told them. The Russians offered even more. Everyone wants this technology. Dr. Rodriguez shook her head. This isn't about money. This is about helping people and protecting the planet. One day, a man in a black suit came to visit. He said he was from a company called Global Solutions, but Jake suspected he was working for the government. Dr. Rodriguez, the man said, we can offer you unlimited resources to develop your abilities. We can build you the best laboratories in the world. You can help millions of people. What's the catch? She asked. No catch. We just want exclusive rights to any breakthroughs you make. And we'd like to study your DNA to see if we can help. Other people gained similar abilities. After the man left, Dr. Rodriguez sat quietly for a long time. Jake could see that she was struggling with a difficult decision. I keep thinking about that night in the plant, she said finally. I could have died. But instead, I became something that could help save the world. That has to mean something. Jake nodded. What do you want to do? Dr. Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the desert stretched for miles in every direction. But Jake knew she was thinking about much more than just the view. I want to make a choice that will help everyone, not just the people with the most money. She said, I want to release all the research publicly. Every scientist in the world should have access to this information. The government won't like that, Jake warned. I know, but I think it's the right thing to do. The next week, Dr. Rodriguez made her decision public. She announced that she would work with an international team of scientists to share all the research freely. No one country or company would own the technology. The response was immediate and intense. Some people called her a hero. Others said she was dangerous and irresponsible. The government tried to stop her, but she had already shared the information with scientists around the world. I want to do one more thing, she told Jake. I want to prove that this technology should be used to help people, not to make weapons or money. She convinced the authorities to let her visit a nuclear waste storage site that had been leaking radiation for years. The area was so dangerous that no one could work there for more than a few minutes. Without protective gear, Jake watched nervously as Dr. Rodriguez walked into the contaminated area, wearing only regular clothes. Her skin began to glow brightly as she approached the most dangerous part of the site. For 3 hours, she worked methodically, touching containers of nuclear waste and neutralizing the radiation. By the end of the day, the entire site was safe for the first time in decades. This is what the technology should be used for, she announced to the reporters who had gathered to watch. Not for making money or creating weapons, but for healing the damage we've done to our planet. The footage of her cleaning up the nuclear waste site was shown around the world. People finally understood what her abilities could mean for the future. Dr. Rodriguez decided to dedicate her life to environmental cleanup. She traveled to contaminated sites around the world, using her abilities to neutralize radiation and make dangerous areas safe again. Jake went with her, documenting her work and helping coordinate the cleanup efforts. They became partners in a mission that was bigger than either of them had ever imagined. "Do you ever regret what happened that night?" Jake asked her one day. As they worked at a cleanup site in Japan, Dr. Rodriguez thought for a moment, her skin glowing softly in the afternoon sun. "I regret that other people were hurt. I regret that companies tried to steal research instead of working together. But I don't regret becoming what I am now. Why not? Because I have the chance to fix things that were broken. I can help heal the world in ways that no one else can. How could I regret that?" Jake smiled. He had started as just an emergency responder doing his job, but he had become part of something much more important. Together, they were proving that sometimes the most incredible discoveries come from the most unexpected places. As they worked side by side, cleaning up decades of nuclear contamination, both of them knew that they had found their true purpose. They were no longer just two people who had survived a terrible accident. They had become hope for a cleaner, safer future.